So it's exactly 1 week to go before the so-called two-pot pension retirement system comes into effect on the 1st of September. Now, both the Pension Fund Amendment Act and the Revenue Law Amendment Act will make provision for pension fund members to access a portion of their funds before retirement. The legislation creates a savings pot to access a third of the funds, while two-thirds will be kept in the second pot for retirement. Now, as Mercedes Besent reports, COSATU says that it has proposed more pension reforms in the next Revenue Laws Amendment Bill.
The announcement of allowing pension fund members to have access to a portion of their funds was made by the former finance minister during the height of COVID-19 in 2021.
A portion of their retirement fund workers should be able to access in these difficult times, maybe to finish off their bond repayments, maybe to sort out whatever debt positions they might be in. But I must warn at the same time that people must ensure that they use this facility for purposes of relief and also making better their own situation.
The Revenue Laws Amendment Bill, also referred to as a tax bill, was the first step to allow the pension reforms. The pension legislation also had to be amended. The Pension Funds Amendment Bill went through rigorous public participation processes. It was first passed by the National Assembly in March this year and sent to the NCOP for concurrence. When he brought the bill for debate before the House, Chairperson of the Standing Committee on Finance had outlined the intentions of the bill and its proposed benefits to workers who are members of the fund.
The bill amends the Pension Funds Act of 1956, Post and Telecommunications Related Matters Act 1958, the Transnet Act 1990, and the Government Employees Pension Laws 1996, so as to insert certain definitions in order to provide for the introduction of the savings withdrawal benefits, to provide for the appropriate account for a member's interest in the savings, retirement and vested components in the savings, retirement and vested components, to provide for deductions that may be made. These amendments were not provided for in the Revenue Laws Amendment Bill that has already been adopted by the National Assembly in February 2024. The proposed two-pot retirement system, as tabled by the Deputy Minister, addresses primary concerns by the workers. The system will provide relief to workers in both public and private sectors.
When the NCOP Select Committee received the bill, it made some changes and brought it to the House for final approval.
This bill actually seeks to give people the opportunity, on the one hand, to withdraw money because they're highly stressed, given the 2008 financial crisis, COVID, and so on.
The bill was passed by the NCOP with amendments in April and sent back to the Assembly for concurrence. The Assembly accepted the NCOP amendments and passed it in mid-May. It was sent to the President to sign it into law. One of the critical components in the bill is to allow the two-pot system to be effective from the 1st of September. And one of the stakeholders that has been pushing for the pension reforms says it's been a long journey.
No, we're happy. It's been a long journey. It's been 5 years of tough engagements. It took time to convince Treasury of this idea. And then it took time to get to agree what it should look like. It took time to get legislation to Parliament. There had to be further amendments at Parliament, serious amendments at Parliament, because the initial draft we weren't happy with. It wouldn't have given enough relief to workers. But look, the legislative process can be frustrating. It takes on average 5 years for any law to be amended. It's not like going to the shop and just changing it. It takes time for deliberate reasons because there's consequences. We didn't get everything we want, but in the majority we have gotten what we hoped to achieve. It's not going to resolve everything, but it's a good step forward. It lays a foundation for further reforms. We've already begun engaging with Treasury on the next batch of reforms.
The labor movement says it's comfortable with how implementation would unfold, but it has proposed more changes.
You have access to your savings pot, no matter what. You have access to whatever you saved up by 1 September, no matter what. If you resign, you lose a job, whatever happens, you have access to it. Then for the preservation, so beyond 1 September, you always have access to the savings pot. If you lose a job, you have access to it. And then Treasury has agreed that the preservation pot, that 2/3 of savings beyond 1 September, if you lose your job, you must be able to access it as well, because you can't tell somebody who's unemployed, who's not going to find a job tomorrow, but must pay his home loan at the end of the month, must pay for his kids to go to school, must buy food, electricity. You can't tell that person, pray for miracles. So Treasury has agreed that must be allowed as well. So we already have engagements now about the next round of amendments, which includes ensuring that when a worker loses a job, they have access to everything. We also made a few other proposals. Can we make the tax regime a bit more favorable to low-income workers, less of a burden to them? Can we also look at allowing workers greater access to the existing savings beyond September? And could we look at allowing workers access to the pension fund to fund education, an education loan, for example, because education is an investment in your child, in their own career and earning potential, and of course it benefits you when you are retired because your children will naturally help take care of you in your retirement.
Park says all these proposed additional pension reforms will be dealt with when the 2024 Revenue Laws Amendment Bill comes before Parliament. The deadline for public consultation on the draft bill has already passed. Mercedes Besent, SABC News, Parliament.
And of course, as indicated earlier, SABC News will have a sustained focus on the two-pot system throughout the week. Right, let's take a look at some of your responses already to our question of the day. There's that question. Will you be accessing a portion of your pension fund when the two-pot system comes into effect on September the 1st? Let's take a look at some of those responses. Ule says, morning Sakina. Well, for me, I think it's not a good idea to access it. I know life is hard. The cost of living is high for many. It will help some. There are problems, but they should look for retirement. Will you have enough to sustain or live off? Me, nope. But that's just me, hey? Notorious Mabilane says, the tax is very high, so thanks but no thanks. This corrupt government doesn't have mercy on those who are working and paying tax. They are taxing them too much so they can steal more and fund their lavish lifestyles. Letwapo says, there was no proper consultation regarding this matter and workers were always against it even before it was signed into law. Football Sage says it's our money and we are taking it. Khaboniwe, good morning family. I am fond of it as it's designed to promote the preservation of retirement fund investments until a member retires, while also allowing the person to access a portion of their accumulated savings during their working years. Vincent says, good morning, Sakina. This thing of the two-pot system, we don't understand it because it seems that everyone is having 300,000 Rand on their pension fund and everyone is getting 10%. So it's nothing because they are still going to tax that 30,000. According to me, it's better to leave. 18th September at ND General 3. Good morning. The government needs to educate people on how this two-pot system works, especially how the taxation and the process fees work. Most people are not sure as they project it as a scam by the government and SARS. Joshua says, banking money is too tricky. I think I will access it.